The first method I'm going to show you for adding beads to your tatting, it's going to look like this as an end result. You can see how the bead is kind of in the picot and it hangs freely. Now the first thing you want to do before you start your project is to take one or two of the beads that you're thinking of using and slide them on your needle. See how they fit and if they will slide all the way down. So you can see this one, it slides down but it gets stuck on the eye of the needle so it doesn't slide down your thread. So typically I don't use beads if they don't slide all the way down, but if you want to use a really small fine bead and it has this problem, then what you can do if you're using this method is simply slide the needle off and string the number of beads that you're going to be using directly onto the thread. And just go ahead and string all of them onto your thread. And then you'll rethread your needle. Now I've changed beads and this time I'm going to try these for a fit. And I'm going to be using for this project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads. Just slide them down and you can see those ones go easily onto the tail. You're just going to slide them down until they're kind of out of the way a bit and just let them rest right there. Now at this point you're going to go ahead and start whatever pattern you're using, and I'm going to say that mine is 3 double stitches, 1 picot, three more double stitches, and then the pattern says to add a bead, or if it says picot and you're just wanting to add a bead, all you're going to do is slide one of those beads up your thread, right up against your tatting, and then go ahead and finish up as if you were making a picot. So you're just going to do that double stitch on the other side. We're going to do 3 double stitches, 1 picot, 3 more double stitches, and then we're ready to close our ring. But we want to take a look at this really quick. You can see what it looks like and how the center bead here is taking the place of the center picot. And you can see how it's hanging on the picot thread, and that thread is the thread that comes from your ball. Okay, so we're going to slide it off. Go ahead and close your ring like you would normally. Right like that. Make your knot. And there you have it. So I've gone ahead and reversed my work and made my chain, and then reversed my work again, and I'm ready to start my second ring. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3 double stitches. I'm going to join it to the last picot of the previous ring. Make 3 more double stitches. Okay, at this point we are ready to add another bead. So we simply slide the bead down the thread, right up to our needle, finish as if we were making a picot, double stitch, make sure we have 3 double stitches on this side, picot, 3 double stitches to complete that ring, and then we're simply going to close our work. Right like that. And now we have 2 beads. There's many variations in this method of adding beads, and the next one that I want to show you is a triple bead add or multiple bead add. And so for this I'm going to string 3 beads onto my thread, just going to slide it right down onto my thread. And since I'm only going to be making one ring to demonstrate this, and I'm only going to be using 3 beads total, that's all I'm sliding on right now. But if you were to be making a project that, say, had 12 rings on it, and each ring was going to have 1 bead, then you'd want to string all 12 beads on at this point. But for this project, I'm only going to be doing the 1 ring with the 3 beads in it. So we have the 3 strung. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and make my 3 double stitches. One picot, 3 double stitches. And then here I'm going to do my triple bead. And so how I go about doing this is I slide all 3 beads down at once. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish like it's a picot. And then I'm going to do my 3 double stitches, my picot, and then my 3 more double stitches to finish out my ring. I'm going to close your work. Right like that. And when you can see how that lays. And here's another variation using the same method. This time I want my bead to hang very freely and dangle. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make 1 ring, and I only want 1 bead on that ring, so I'm only stringing 1 bead onto my thread. And again, if you're doing multiple, then you need to string all of your beads on at this time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 double stitches. One picot, 3 double stitches. Okay, and I'm ready to add my bead. So I slide my bead up, and this time instead of putting it completely flush to my tatting, I'm going to leave a bit of a gap. And this is like you would do for making a large picot. You can use your finger as a spacer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to pull my thread down tight as if I'm doing a very large picot. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish up my 3 double stitches, 1 picot, 3 double stitches, and then close my ring. Make a knot at the top. And you can see how that really hangs loose and dangles quite well. So the last variation I'm going to show you in this method of adding beads is one in which you add a bead also to your joined picots. So I'll be showing you this next, and I want you to note that when you're stringing your beads onto your needle, you're only going to string the beads that are dangling free. You're not going to string the joined ones. So in counting for this one, we're going to add 1, 2, 3 beads onto our needle to begin with. And this will make a little bit more sense once you see it come together. We're going to string 3 beads. All the way down onto our thread. And then we're going to go ahead and make our 3 double stitches. And instead of doing a picot like we did before, we're going to stop right there, and we're going to go ahead and slide our first bead up flush to our tatting. So I just want one of those. And then we're going to go ahead and do our next 3 double stitches. And this is going to be the picot that normally would be coming off of the side. Okay, and now we're ready for our second picot. you're going to slide that bead right up to the picot, to where the picot would be. 3 more double stitches, and then this one right here is going to be the picot that your next ring is going to join to. It's going to be this one. And this is a step you need to pay really close attention to, because this one, we're not going to add a bead at this point. We're going to leave it as a free picot. So go ahead and make a normal picot, right like that. And then you're going to do your 3 double stitches and close and reverse your work. Right like that. So let me go ahead and do a chain really quick, and then we will proceed on to the next step. As you can see, I went ahead and made my chain, reversed my work, and made the first 3 double stitches of my second ring. At this point, you would normally join to the free picot, but since we're going to be adding a bead, this is a very important step for you to see very clearly. And I'm going to be using a larger bead in this step just so that you can see it a little bit better. And I've also made my picot larger than normal. So what you're going to do is you want to make sure you have a crochet hook that has a small enough hook on it that it can fit through the hole in your bead. And then you're going to go and you're going to loop your picot onto your crochet hook, pull your picot through your bead hole, and then once you have it through, you can remove your hook, and you're going to want to take your tatting needle and pass it through that little bit of picot that's sticking through your bead hole. You're going to slide it down against the rest of your tatting, and then just as if it was a picot, you're going to start your tatting again on the other side. So 3 more double stitches, and then you're going to add your bead to make that tip bead look like this one. And so you're going to go down and you're going to get that bead that you have on your string, and you're going to slide it down to your tatting. Start your double stitch on the other side as if you'd made a picot. Do 3 more double stitches and do your free picot, because this is where you're going to want to join your next ring bead picot to. Okay, and now you're ready to close and reverse your work. Start like that. You can see how the picot joins through the bead, right like that. And this picot is free because when you make your next chain and next ring, it's going to join to that one. So go ahead and try this step a few times. Go back and watch the video again if you need.